I would like to introduce to you the man who creates profits for dentalpreneurs without pulling teeth, the original composer of The Eye of the Tyler. It is my pleasure to introduce to you the king of Victorian steampunk, the sommelier of Southern California, the teacher of the lessons of the super rich, the one, the only, Tim McNeely. Tim, welcome, my dream firm leader. How are you doing today?
I am excellent and excited to be here with all of you today.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we're going to dive right in here. We've got a number of questions that we're going to want to be able to ask of Tim. And Tim, what I want to do is I want to just get you started with, how'd you get started in the financial world overall? What attracted you to it? Just give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And, I started my life off working with my dad, who was a financial advisor, wealth manager, tax planner. And I always thought that was such a great thing to go into. My dad had a good quality of life, made a lot of money. And I thought, hey, that's what I want to do too. And started down that road. But you know what? I found myself absolutely miserable. And then I met and fell in love with a dentist. And I thought, hey, here's a nice little change. And started working with my wife and helping her out. And we were falling in love. And as we're dating, though, and some of you may remember these good days, you're with your significant other, you're on date night, having a good time. But all of a sudden, we weren't talking about our hopes and our dreams and our future together. Her dental practice was invading our life. It was her other boyfriend, as I like to joke. And it didn't matter how well I could manage her little meager investments. It wasn't going to actually move the needle. So then I really found myself in a job I hated, couldn't take care of the person I loved the most. And I knew something needed to change. And I thought, who better to learn from than the super rich, right? People worth $500 million or more. How do they manage their financial affairs? How do they get things together? And that's really what started me down the path of studying what are the best of the best doing, and then how can I bring those to my wife? And we started implementing some of those strategies. We got back to being on top of the world. And that's really where a lot of my passion for helping dentists comes from, is seeing the big difference I can make in helping people be protected and take advantage of all the possible opportunities that are out there.
Wow, that's absolutely awesome to hear. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the dentist niche and space overall, but such a close connection that you've had with your wife and the industry through her profession as well, and falling in love with someone who's a dentist that's super cool. You got great teeth yourself, Tim, so I think your dental work is probably pretty well taken care of. But I also want to maybe think about when you started your own firm. You mentioned getting started with your father. Did you end up continuing inside of his firm? Did you ultimately transition into starting your own firm? Give me a little bit of background on when your entrepreneurial journey itself started.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, right, family businesses are tricky. Having a partner is tricky, right? And you may be working with a family member, you may have a partner, you may just, find yourself in a firm where things just aren't going the way you want. And that's really the situation I found myself in with my dad for lots of years. I love him to death, have a good relationship with him. But, we always had very differing visions of what the future looked like and how we wanted to serve clients, how we wanted to take care of them. And so even though I was working with him, we were really just sharing office space. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago that I finally had the courage to take off and start my own firm. And the thing that you hear from most people who say this is, I wish I would have done it years ago. And the truth is, I wish I would have done it years ago. But also in hindsight, maybe I wouldn't have been ready for it years ago. And so, you always kind of look at where you are, what you're doing, and just you try to be grateful for where you are. But yeah, the entrepreneurial journey of really, starting out on my own, breaking away, was only 3 years ago.
Wow. 3 years. And we're going to dive into where you are today and the growth you've experienced over those 3 years as a blossoming entrepreneur. And that's awesome to hear, Tim. But I want us to also focus a little bit on the type of clients you're working, because I know when people hear financial planning, which you do, but this tax planning piece that's a part of your firm and what you're offering. So there's a lot of things you're doing in terms of service offerings, bundlings, and putting those together in a cool way that really speak to this very competitive niche, right? When I talk to a lot of accounting professionals, one of the first niches they always say is dentists, right? I don't know why. I guess people are just like, they love dentists. They love getting their teeth worked on. I'm not too sure, but dental is clearly a good profession. Everybody's got a mouth. Everyone needs a dentist. But in terms of the services that you're putting together and bringing to market, Tim, could you shed a little bit of light on what that looks like and why you've packaged them the way you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So, dentists are a unique breed out there, much like chiropractors or physicians or other small business owners. And that's really why I centered in work with dental is you have someone who is running a business, right? Their dental practice, but they also have a lot of personal needs too. And that engine that fuels their personal life is the dental practice. And so often you have these clinicians, they come out of school and they're great clinicians. They know how to do teeth, but as you may or may not know, there's 32 teeth in the human mouth. That's all the numbers dentists are good at. As long as it's one from 32, they got it covered, no issues. 33, 34, any numbers beyond that, they are lost. And they'll clearly tell you that too. And so really the offerings that they need came out of studying the market, looking for what are the pain points, what are the issues that my clients were facing. And I would encourage all of you to do the same thing. Look at what those issues are. What are the pain points? And just listen. And then you start solving those challenges. And so, now we're working on everything from, that bookkeeping piece to advisory piece to the first personal financial planning piece to really building relationships with other non-competing professionals in the industry so that whenever a dentist has an issue on whatever it may be, I've got a team member that we can bring in to help solve those problems. Everything from coaching to analytics software to tech support people to insurance, right? Whatever it may be, right? People who can negotiate the insurance contracts for them with the different providers. But once again, that's all driven by just listening to the needs of my clients and saying, what are your pain points? What's causing problems?
I absolutely love this answer. And there's two things that I want to pull from it that might be easy to miss. That little anecdote, that little story that Tim told about there being 32 teeth in your mouth and how that's something that a dentist would immediately connect with, something that he knows is a piece of language, something that is industry specific, not specific to tax, not specific to even finances, but specific to dentists. It sounds kind of obvious now that I bring it up, but it's so easy to gloss over that. But when you're able to pull that into a casual conversation, how much more faith do you have in that individual? How quickly do you build trust that this Tim guy, he really knows what's going on with dentists? That's an important thing that he just shared. Just don't gloss over that. Make sure you wrap those things, whatever industry you're targeting, wrap that into your conversation because it says you know a lot about their particular industry. And the second thing that I've been reflecting on as well, Tim, and Tim and I share a lot of great conversations together, and we're definitely cut from the same cloth in many, many, many respects. But the one thing that I've been reflecting on is clients want more, so give them more. And when I asked Tim what he offered, did you hear him just say, "Oh, we sell $3,000 tax plans"? Is that what he said? No, he's saying, I'm listening to the market and I'm understanding what the market is ultimately looking for. And I'm figuring out how I can be profitable in many different areas so that we can deliver a fantastic, unrivaled experience. That's the answer Tim gave. And that's why Tim is going to continue to see the success that he's seeing right now. So again, just fantastic response overall. Let me go ahead and move a little bit towards the transition that your firm has been going through and ultimately what life was like before you started working with dream firms. Tim, give a little bit of insight into what things were like before then.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in really that transition period and coming out, I've always been pretty good in terms of getting, my clients primarily from non-competing professionals, centers of influence, and then secondarily referrals from existing clients. That's always been pretty good. The absolute weakest part and the part that I have struggled the most with is attracting and retaining clients using any kind of marketing. I've wasted more money on marketing and SEO and all that junk that just doesn't work. And that was really a struggle in terms of getting my messaging out there, establishing myself as a thought leader in the industry, and really having a strong social media presence. By far, that was absolutely my biggest struggle. Then secondarily, the largest source of struggle was having systems and processes. One of my coaches, I love what he said to me. He said, "Tim, you're really good at what you do. The only problem is you have no idea how you do it." And I really took that to heart because he said, you're the guy jumping off a cliff, building the parachute and the wings on the way down, and you're driving your team crazy because you've got no process on how to do anything. And he says, and it all works out for you because you're that kind of person. But it's a nightmare for you to try to tell your team how to do things because you do it differently every single time. So really, really big struggles there, getting the team together and then doing the online marketing piece. And that's really what led me to kind of start searching for and looking for an additional coach to work with, someone who is really, really good at this. And that's what led me to find Tyler and Dream Firms.
I'm going to jump forward an interview question here because you mentioned something, and this, again, I think lends itself to a successful mindset. It's something that I do. It's something I find that all of my top clients do, whether they're just getting started out or whether they're well beyond the $1 million mark. They find themselves constantly involved in what I'll just refer to as self-reflection, but also recognizing that participating in these other high-profile sort of team building, not necessarily team building, but when you're masterminding, when you're communicating with like-minded individuals who are all working to solve similar problems, that's such a tremendous advantage. And those things stack over time. So Tim, I know you're a part of a couple of other groups. What separates Dream Firms from those other groups in your opinion? Because you've got a lot of great ones that deliver fantastic things, but what really is the main draw for you inside of Dream Firms?
Yeah, great question. And actually, interestingly enough, I've helped underwrite research on mastermind groups and a lot of executive groups. And we find that most people who are part of one are actually part of several. And there's a reason for that. It is the focus of each group is very, very different. Now, ultimately, within the business world, there's so many strategies and tactics and ideas, right? It's all the same stuff. And I say that with a lot of respect, but what you drill down and focus on and the little intricacies of each group are going to be really, really different. So I get things from Dream Firms I don't get anywhere else. And I am part of some very high level elite mastermind groups. And really what I find that Tyler and Dream Firms brings to the table is really a heavy focus on a couple things. Number one is how do you build a steady stream of pre-qualified, pre-endorsed clients, right? How do you bring them to yourself? And how do you really establish yourself as a thought leader in the industry? And another one of my mastermind groups, they're really good at providing thought leadership material and helping you position yourself as a thought leader, but they don't help you get it out to the marketplace. Tyler's helping me get that out to the marketplace through creating a stunning podcast, through building a Facebook group, right? I would have never thought I'd have a Facebook group with 130 members in there. And the secret and what Tyler helped me do is I didn't have to do any of it. That's brilliant. So the delegation, the building systems to free you up so you can focus on what your unique ability is so that you can keep doing it is really, to me, one of the biggest values that I get from Dream Firms. It's the building the systems and the processes, and then really just that online marketing piece, how to communicate with your audience, how to share your message in a compelling way.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Tim. And I don't know how many of you this really resonates with, that your expertise and its ability to be recognized is extremely limited right now. And that can be frustrating. And I know how frustrating it is because I was like that before I started to focus on why is this the case? How do I expand my network? How do I ultimately get my expertise recognized quickly and efficiently? And I started testing and implementing and doing all these different things, but I ran into a roadblock, and it's the same roadblock that Tim's ran into. It's the same roadblock that a lot of people run into. They go, how do I continue to push these things into the market when I have to fulfill, when I have to take care of my firm, when I have to make decisions every single day on what's going to happen with it? How do I continue to do that? And the only way to make more money in less time, the only way to push your expertise further in the market, it's only one way: build systems. And I know it sounds obvious, but we lose sight of it, or we might talk about it in these generalistic terms, but we don't have the concrete, actionable, step-by-step processes that allow us to get meaningful results like the one Tim is experiencing right now. So I really appreciate you sharing that answer, Tim. And I want to also just go a little bit further. So when we talked about where you were before things got started, or before you were with Dream Firms and you're in these other groups, I want to talk about the process of getting started with us? I feel a lot of people, they get stuck at the starting line. They might look at price tags. They might think of cost instead of investment. They might not necessarily understand what's going to be the first hour, the first week, the first couple of days. So give a little bit of insight in terms of what that initial process looked and felt like for you.
Are you talking about the initial kind of onboarding through the, just kind of the process and the system of the online courses, or what part?
Yeah, I would say when you think about, let's say maybe an early win that you had in the program, right? In your first real week inside of Dream Firms, what did it feel like getting started? How did you know that this was a good decision very soon after making it?
Perfect. The way I knew that I made the right choice, because anytime you join a program or you get into something, buyer's remorse sets in. And we see this actually with car buyers. And I'll tell another little interesting story. That the biggest searches for people looking to buy a used car have already bought a used car, right? So I swear to you, this is what the data shows. Is you go out, you buy a used car, and the next thing you're doing is you're on Google searching up that car, trying to say, did I make the right choice? Did I? Right? No, you should do your research before, not after. But anyways, that's what the data shows. It's that buyer's remorse, and you're questioning, did I make the right choice? Well, for me, what absolutely solidified making the right choice is communication with Tyler, right? We've got unlimited access to ask questions, to interact on a very, very high and deep level in terms of what's going on in our practice, very specific questions. And so, the moment that I started sending Tyler messages and getting messages back, right? Not short little 20-second, oh, hey, go try this, but real in-depth, thought out answers that say, hey, Tim, here's your question. I get what you're asking. Why don't you do this? And it was like step by step by step. I said, I am sold. This is absolutely the right choice, because I've got someone who's now is as invested in my business as I am. And that's the kind of partner you want in any kind of group you're in, is someone who is just as invested in your success as you are.
Wow. Thank you, Tim. And I want to pull something from that I think is a great lesson for everyone that's watching this. Anyone that's had a chance to speak with me or one of our Dream Firm advisors to explore the Create Your Dream Firm program, what Tim has gone through, and this is something that when people are really listening and paying attention like Tim does, they immediately pluck from it and they say, that's smart. I want to see how I can wrap this into my future conversations with my future prospective dream clients. And my golden rule, which Tim meets and exceeds in abundance, is, will I care more about your business than you do? And the answer to that question should be, hell no, right? You should almost be shocked, appalled, and disgusted that I would ask such a question of you. But the reason it's an important question is, how many of us are frustrated when it feels like we care more about that person's business than they do? And how can you deliver a high level of service, a fantastic experience, when that's the case? You can't. And to Tim's point, he knew when he came in, essentially immediately, that was not going to be a problem, that I'm going to be invested in his success. And that's the same thing that you're looking to do with your clients. So consider bringing that question to the next sales opportunity you have, to just make sure that you're on the same page about what this is all really about. Awesome answer, Tim. And so let's dive a little bit into how things have changed in your life. You talked about systems. You talked about potentially expanding your team. You talked about having this pipeline, this expanded recognition of your expertise. But what does that actually do for your life? Like, how do you feel with these tangible results? What does that really mean for you, Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me share a story with you to show how this really works out in day-to-day, real tangible results for you. And I want you to imagine that all of a sudden you're doing a call with someone you've never met before, right? You've reached out to them on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever medium that you're on, and you're doing this call with this person. And call goes great. Now you're on the second call and they go, hey, I want to introduce you to someone else. I want to introduce you to this high-end, attorney that I work with that has lots of your ideal clients, right? How good would that feel, right? So imagine you're there. Now, here's what's amazing is I'm on this call. This is exactly what happened to me. And this person who made the introduction started introducing me to his contact. So now, right, you're on this call and this person starts telling the other person exactly what you do, step by step by step, right? Imagine that, right? They have your script down just as well as you have your script down. And the reason is because of content creation, by getting the messaging out there, but not just the messaging, consistent messaging. So now I'm on this phone call. He says, Tim really helps dentists in 5 key areas. He helps them minimize taxes, make smart choices with their money, transfer their money to the next generation, protect their assets from being unjustly taken. And lastly, Tim helps people support the causes they're passionate about. Like my jaw was on the ground practically. And so those are the real tangible results that you can get by following this process, by becoming a thought leader, is people are going to know what you do. And actually, I rewrote my vivid vision, which is where my firm is going to be 3 years from now. And one of the things that was in there is when clients come to me, or potential clients come to me, they're pre-vetted, they know what we do, they know how we do it, and they're ready to work with us, right? So by the time they're to us, by the time all the marketing has worked, they're ready to get started. And there's no selling because that's already been done. You've already established trust with your audience. You've already established trust with them, and they're ready and willing to work with you because they know the amazing value that you're going to give them. And that's a real tangible result that's come out of working with dream firms.
Such an awesome answer. But for everyone listening, I think that sometimes we think about marketing, we look at Tim, we might look at me, and we say, okay, these guys are magnetic. They've got the personalities. Marketing might come natural to them. But the truth is that it takes time, focus, and attention, irrespective of personality traits, to dial in a message that someone else can share on your behalf that speaks to their clients, right? Tim's referencing a center of influence, someone who has access to the type of clients that he wants. A very common strategy, but implemented the right way when tiered with a message that speaks to not only your ideal client, but speaks to the relationships that other people have in non-competing industries, right? Non-competitive things. We don't need another accounting firm to say what Tim says. We want someone who's a lawyer. We want someone who does insurance. We want them to be able to say, this guy's an expert. We don't have someone in this capacity, or maybe we do, but they're not as dialed in as Tim is. And when that's the case, it's so powerful when you show up to that call, pre-vetted, qualified. They're saying your message for you. And just as a very, very simple way for you to understand this, if you were right now to say one sentence that properly reflected who you want to work with, what you're able to do, and why they should ultimately want to work with you, can you do that in one sentence? Right now, like right away. And I'm going to swing it to Tim because I know Tim's got his primary headline dialed in because he knows his message. Tim, what's your message in 1 minute, in one sentence? What is that?
Before I share it, I want to share with you, I didn't have this a year ago, right? I did not have this. I would have stumbled over it and I would have been like, well, I think I'd do this. And so what you're about to hear is a result of working with Tyler, right? This is not accidental. And you can get these same results too. And so I help dentists build an amazing life of significance by implementing strategies from the super rich so they can take care of the people they love, support the causes they care about, change the world for the better.
Now, I'm not a dentist, but I'm about to go to dental school because of how powerful that was. Because I mean, seriously, like if you're a dentist, you hear that, it speaks to someone specifically. Who doesn't want to take the lessons from the super rich, bring that into their life in a niche specific environment, and ultimately do what Tim said at the end of that, right? Lead an amazing life of significance. Brilliant. And just for the sake of showing you that we take our own medicine, I help entrepreneurial accountants create generational wealth and impact by systemizing how they attract and win the business of their dream clients. Generational wealth and impact. Every single person who joins our program, I ask them why it matters to be an entrepreneur, why it matters to build their dream firm. And every single one of them, it's never never about the objects. It's never even necessarily about retirement. It's about legacy and leave something that matters for the next generation. And I know Tim meets that criteria as well. So
Yeah,
fantastic response. Go ahead.
Actually, one little other thing on that message is, before working with Tyler, I had all the pieces to that message. I really did. I had some of it over here and some of it here and some of it here. And creating that message was really a result of collaboration with Tyler. It was me, brainstorming with him and saying, here's what I think I do, and just giving him a whole bunch of messages, right? All of the stuff that was in my head, just dumping it out. And then Tyler actively listening and saying, you know what, I think this is going to pique someone's interest. Oh, and that part's good. And this part's good. And so that message was really, once again, a direct collaboration of working with someone, hearing feedback, and then going to the market and testing it.
You're not alone, either from the standpoint that I'd love to work with you, but also you can listen to your market and you can ultimately tell them what you're hearing and bring it back to them. And can you repeat how you describe what it is that Tim does for his clients? I think Nancy is looking to ultimately do some copywriting right now. Nancy, I love it. Yes, listen to what speaks to you. Tim, one more time, if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely. I help dentists build an amazing life of significance by implementing strategies from the super rich so they can take care of the people they love, support the causes they care about, and change the world for the better.
It's like music to my ears, how good that is. It's so good. Okay. So let's talk a little bit maybe about numbers, if you don't mind, Tim, because I know a lot of people, they hear messages, they hear all of these different things. They've got all sorts of interesting, they go, okay, this is great, but okay, what's the return look like in your opinion, Tim? If you're willing to share, I don't like to pressure any of my clients. You're kind enough to come on here and share your expertise, your knowledge with us. But if you're willing to share, what have you added since joining Dream Firms here?
Yeah, such a great question. And, I really left a business where I didn't have a lot of valuation to it, because it was in partnership, but I was able to leave. And now I've got a business worth, $400,000, right? If I were to sell today, that's a real tangible result that's come through working with Dream Firms. Revenues are up 22%, and that's in a terrible, crazy year, right? Because people are wanting advice. They want to know what to do. And then probably the next result that I'm proudest of is one that I was able to achieve through collaboration and working with the team, right? Tyler's been pushing on me. He says, Tim, you got to build your community. You want to build a community where people can collaborate and talk and exchange ideas, right? Your Facebook group, that's what you want to build. I started off with zero people 6 months ago, zero. I've got 130 people in that group today. And it's because I had a system, I had a process, and Tyler taught me how to hire a great assistant, a great lead generating specialist. And you can do this too. And once again, through messaging back and forth and making little tweaks, my lead generating specialist has gone wild. And she's taken on these projects. She's creating Trello boards for me and creating processes that I'm not having to do, right? I meet with her on Mondays for like half an hour to check in and say, hey, what's going on? And that's just the beginning of some of the results that I'm seeing. And so it's really freeing up time so that I can have that amazing life of significance, so that I can take care of the people I love, those causes I care about, change the world for the better. So by me giving my clients what I want, I'm getting what I want too.
Beautiful. And listen, results are not created in a vacuum. There are a lot of things contributing to Tim's success. I want to be perfectly clear. He's been dedicated to his craft for a long time. He's had tutelage from his father, but he's an implementer. He's someone who's open to change. And that, again, even if you reflect on the time of year over the last year, 22% growth during what everyone was predicting to be a horrific downturn, and largely was for many, many individuals, he's found ways to be productive, to establish his expertise. People might say 122 Facebook group members, but again, Tim, these are 122, not just Facebook group members, they're 122 dentalpreneurs. Am I correct?
You are absolutely correct. These are my dream clients, people who I would absolutely love to serve, to work with. and to help them achieve their most important goals. So these are not random people, highly targeted.
And I don't know if there's a proper way to express the value of what that has in the long-term potential, because it's going to keep growing. He had a goal of hitting 100 by the end of the year. It's not even the end of the year. He's further along than that. So that is absolutely fantastic. So listen, I want to be respectful of Tim's time. We've got a couple of additional questions to jump through, and maybe just do a little bit of spitballing at the end, because there's so much great things that come from speaking with Tim. I want you to just speak to the individuals that are on the Zoom, that are watching the live, that are considering working with dream firms, but for one reason or another have decided to wait as opposed to create the results that you're currently experiencing. What would you say to those people, Tim? What would you say to them?
I would tell you that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today. You just get started. You know, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, one of the things that gets in my way, and maybe gets in your way too, is we've got so many things we want to take care of, right? We've got to take care of this and take care of that, instead of actually focusing on the most important things that are right in front of you, right? Changing the things that you need to change so that you can actually get to where you want to go. And if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results, right? You're going to get exactly what you're getting today. But if you really are dedicated to your future and to building something better and learning from one of the best out there, just get started, right? Just get started. It's so funny. And Tyler didn't even know this, but you know, I've got his little dream firm roadmap printed out, and I keep that on my desk, because even though I've been doing this almost a year, I want to dive back in this and almost start like I've never done this before, and look at it with a fresh set of eyes and reanalyze things. And so there's value in just going back and starting. You're never going to get anything done perfect, but you can just start. Don't let perfection be the enemy of getting started.
That ending phrase, that's I feel one of the biggest inhibitors to growth in general. Is my primary headline, even Tim's primary headline, the different messaging, it's all over the place. Get started pushing something into the market. Let the market validate it for you. Let me help push you further into the market. I'd much rather us get to a couple of no's pretty quick and be able to tweak, improvise, make it better. But to steal from Ine last week, do it scared.
Yeah.
There is no comfort in growth, and there is no growth in comfort. You have to be willing to be a little uncomfortable, whether it's with an investment or whether it's with something you've never done before, because you've got to change to ultimately build your dream firm. So thank you for saying that, Tim. I also, I want to maybe ask you about something that surprised you. What's something that's surprised you when it's come to growing your firm?
You know, I think the biggest surprise has been really the fact that I'm going to have to depend on people more than I'm comfortable with, right? You talk about getting outside of your comfort zone. And if you're listening, you may be one of these people where you feel like, you know what, no one's going to do this as good as me, right? Why do I want other people, right? More people, more problems, right? And there's some truth to that. But yet at the same time, there's another proverb that I absolutely love. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And for me, it's hard to slow down. It's hard to engage other people. But that to me is really where I'm centered on now, is realizing that the future of my success and the future of having an impact in my market, it's going to depend on building a world-class team. And that to me has kind of been a surprise. And the pleasant part of that surprise is, guess what? Tyler's got a lot of those systems and processes on how to build that team right there in Dream Firms with you. And so I've got a great partner to help me do that in Dream Firms and in Tyler.
Don't reinvent the wheel. We're more powerful together. Diversity of thought is never a bad thing. I don't always agree with my clients, and they don't always agree with me, but we understand our various points of view and why we are where we are. And we're willing to have those hard conversations together to ultimately accelerate us and help us to move significantly faster. And you can't necessarily, you want to go fast by yourself, but there's a limit to that. You want to go far, you need a team. And I know everybody here wants to go further, faster. And I think you can do both of those things simultaneously, as long as you don't feel the need to reinvent the wheel and do it scared. You got to just keep ruthlessly being someone who's willing to implement, which is a fantastic, fantastic takeaway here. So let's see here. I've got, how close are you to winning your first Dream Firms award? Anyone who's unfamiliar with that, it's $100,000 billed and collected in less than 365 days, Tim. Again, if you're willing to share, we'd love to hear it. And we'd love to also send you the award if you're going to break some news today.
I am within 75% of getting there. I really am. And I want to attribute it to work that I'm doing with Dream Firms, because it's really easy to say, well, you know, I've done it over here, but I really want to track my ROI. And so I would tell you, you know, kind of directly attributable to Dream Firms, 75% there. And the amazing thing is, I'm going to get there with a handful of clients. It's not going to be hundreds of clients. It's going to be about 7 or 8. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And that's an important takeaway as well, which is what defines Tim's dream firm, the services he wants to deliver, the type of clients he wants to work with, is radically different than anyone, even someone who's working in the dental space, right? Working with dentalpreneurs as well. It can be very different, but how well are we filtering on the front end? How well are we attracting the right type of people, whether it's centers of influence or ultimately the clients themselves, so that we only need 7, 8, 9, 10 clients to add $100,000 in new business to your firm. That's fantastic, Tim. And I can't wait for you to get that particular award. And last thing, before we get to the Q&A, if you guys have questions, I want you to drop them in the chat now or down in the Facebook comment section. We've been collecting a lot of them already, but if you haven't, we've got a nice bit of time to be able to dive into a one-on-one Q&A with Tim. So we've got questions, drop them. Love to answer them. And so again, Tim, just who would you recommend the Create Your Dream Firm program to?
You know, I would recommend it to anyone who has a dream, right? If you've got a dream of what you want your firm to look like, this program's for you. It doesn't matter if you want a gazillion clients or you want 100 clients. It doesn't matter if you want to work with chiropractors or, you know, dry cleaners or businesses or individuals or psychologists. Doesn't matter who you want to work with. If you've got a dream, this program's for you. And that's what makes it so wonderful, is the principles and the ideas are there, but then you've got the hand holding, you've got the group coaching calls, you've got the community of other people that you can learn from that will help you build your dream, not their dream, not your spouse's dream, your dream firm. And I love that Tyler said that, right? All of our firms, all of your firms, they're going to look so different, and they should be a reflection of your vision, your values, your quality of life. Don't build my firm, build your firm. And that's what Dream Firms is going to help you do. So if you've got a dream and you've got somewhere you want to go, this is absolutely for you.
Beautifully said. Who doesn't have a dream? I have a dream. One of the best speeches of all time. So Tim, thank you for that. And let's go ahead and just dive in. I've got Ava wants to know, where are you located, Tim?
I am in beautiful Central California in Bakersfield.
That is a wonderful, wonderful area. And Tom wants to know, when did you start your Facebook group, Tim?
Oh, I started it probably 6 months ago. So it's relatively new.
And just as a heads up, the toughest period for a Facebook group is those 6 months. I just want to be clear, like people will start things. They don't have the systems in place that allow them to continue to generate the results without more of the entrepreneur's time. And then all of a sudden they get left by the wayside, and then we wonder why they don't do anything or they ultimately don't materialize. But Tim is at what I like to refer to as critical mass now. When you get to over 100 members, now things start cooking a little bit. Now there starts being a little bit more engagement. Now it feels more worthwhile to syndicate your content through it. Now all of a sudden people start interacting more. So I just want to emphasize that's not a surprising thing for me to hear at all.
Yeah. And I don't want you guys to think I have it all together either, because I don't, right? You talked about the Facebook group real quick, right? I'm still struggling with shooting video and trying to do editing and uploading it. But the beautiful thing is I'm working with my assistant on those things, and we've painted a vision that 6 months from now, I'm not going to do any of that, but I'm taking the time to train her, to walk her through this and build those systems around it. So, but once again, if I would have said, I need everything perfect before I do this, I wouldn't have anything today. But it's the fact that I just dove in and started doing stuff as messy, and it's a mess, right? As messy as it is, but 6 months from now, it's going to look so much better. And yeah, we do kind of have that critical mass. My last couple of posts, I've got people commenting and interacting that I never had before. And it's possible for you too to build the same type of community.
I always like to say, go back to the dark ages of the Proactive Accountants Facebook group. Like if you scroll long enough, you'll be like, what in the world was this place even about? And again, that group's only been around for 18 months, but it took us a while to get that traction to be able to be even just to 100, couple hundred members. And then it starts to snowball, starts to pick up steam very, very quickly. So I want to, I've got a question from Mark. I'm struggling with staying focused on a niche. Do you only work with dentists or do you accept clients from other industries?
What a great question. And a lot of times I will work with only dentists. However, I also explain that if someone else who comes along who's not a dentist and they want to work with me, I go, 95% of my clients are dentists, but I believe that, based on our conversation, I can have a really big impact with you and I'm happy to work with you. So you don't have to turn people away, but you're creating your niche to help attract people to you. And that's what it's going to do. And there really is a benefit to having a niche aside from the marketing aspect. The biggest benefit to having a niche is you're going to be able to impact that niche greater because you're not going to have to relearn everything. Another client comes in, right? You're going to have the same chart of accounts. You're going to have all the same stuff. And so when, we have a crisis and all of a sudden you've got some kind of new loan program that no one's ever heard about called the Paycheck Protection Program, you only got to learn it once for one industry. You don't have to learn it for everyone. And so that's the power of having a niche is you can go really, really deep and serve them really, really well. Whereas if you're scattered and you got clients in all sorts of industries, you're going to be relearning everything every time you bring on a new client.
Fantastic response. I'll just say you're more profitable on your front end with your marketing. And if you happen to attract people who are outside of it, isn't it funny, Tim, when people are like, well, will you work with me? They almost want to pre-qualify, but I'm not a dentist. They want to now come in. And so, yeah, there are going to be maybe some additional opportunities outside of the space. That's natural because if you're doing such a good job marketing, other people are going to look at that and say, wait a minute. Maybe I should speak with this gentleman or this woman to be able to access their expertise. Yeah. And now it's a different conversation, right? You're pre-qualifying them to see if you want to take them on. They're almost like applying to work with you. And at that point, the power is all yours. If they're a good fit, sure, if you want to take them on. But the good news is when your front end is dialed in like Tim's is, you have the power to say no, where a lot of people, you don't have that power. You find yourself just saying yes, because you don't know when your next opportunity is going to come along. You feel like you might be able to turn them into a good client. And all of a sudden you're just have the practice you kind of happen to have as opposed to the one you really want. And it really starts with dialing in and staying focused on that niche. So great question. Mark, Ben says, this is really inspiring. When did you start working with Dream Firm? So I think you said 6 months a couple times here, Tim, just to clarify, right?
Correct.
That's a pretty good return in 6 months, if you ask me. But Ava says, congrats on the growth. Adam says, what was your professional experience before deciding on the dental niche, Mr. McNeely?
Oh, I was all over the place. Right. So I've got zero musical talent, zero, right? I can play the radio and that's about it. So I always thought I wanted to live vicariously through musicians. And so I would go hang out at all these local shows. So I struggled with building a niche with musicians. I struggled with working with, different kinds of business owners and high net worth individuals, and none of it really stuck. And the reason it didn't stick is I truly wasn't passionate about any one industry. And so passion really comes into play. And like I said, for me, my kind of epiphany happened through being engaged and working with my wife, right? Not just as someone I love, but as a client also, and really hearing her struggle. So it comes back to that listening, right? Because I was listening to my wife because I heard her frustrations. I said, I know what problems I have to fix to make her life better. And so I would encourage you to do the same thing, right? Absolutely look for a niche that you're going to enjoy, that you're going to have some connection with. And it doesn't have to necessarily be industry specific. It may just be, I work with local business owners in Central Ohio, right? That may be niche enough. Right. But now you've got a specialty. Now you've got a connection. Now you're going to know those local laws, those local ordinances that are applicable to that area. So it can be geographic. You can make a niche in all sorts of different ways, but make sure you've got some kind of connection to it so that you do feel that passion of getting up every single day, excited to work with your dream clients.
Tim shares such an important point here, and niche selection, I know, is something a lot of people struggled with and continue to struggle with. But what he shared is the connection to the industry. A lot of people just will pick dentists because they got money, or they'll pick lawyers because they got money, right? There's a lot of them, right? And they're everywhere. And I go, no, you're missing the point. Do you love lawyers? Have you ever attended a law class? Like, is your practice made up of lawyers right now? And they go, no. They got money. And I go, this is not going to work. I'm sorry. I mean, it might. We can dedicate all our resources, but you really need to have the connection to it, or you're just going to keep treading water. And I share that because I did it in my firm when I had my accounting firm. I did it when I launched my own consulting firm. I've struggled with that. I niched up into not veterinarians, veterans, right? Not veterinarians, not an industry, a type of person, because they're regimented, they can follow systems. That spoke to me when I ran my accounting firm. And also our lead accountant was a vet, right? Like, not a veterinarian, a veteran, right? So my point is you have all of these connections in your life, and I want you to reflect on the meaningfulness of them. And maybe there's the reason those connections exist in the first place to those industries or those types of people. And when you do that, I think it becomes much easier to dial in your message. Natalie says, how can I join your program? Natalie, hop onto a call, speak to myself or a Dream Firms advisor, depending on availability, and ultimately make an informed decision. So you can ultimately I'm going to drop the link into the chat here on Zoom. So give me just 1 second to do that. I'm going to just take this strategy call link. And there you go. Let's see. Natalie, gotcha. We'll book a call now. There you go. Just dropped it. Christy, when is the next start date for your program? So Christy, great question. We're currently at capacity. We only ever allow 25 firms into the program at any given time. That's how I can deliver the high degree of expertise and one-on-one attention that Tim has been kind enough to share with you guys. That said, I believe off the top of my head, today is the 30th. The 4th is all booked up. We are taking people on the 11th right now. I think we got 2 or 3 slots available on the 11th. And I know we always get a lot of book calls from these interviews. So hope to have you with us, Christy. Steve, very cool story, Tim. Thanks for sharing. Larry said, send the link. It's down below. Roy, I'm on vacation. Can I join when I get back in 2 weeks? Roy, yes, but odds are we're going to be pushing a little bit further into tax season. If that's not a problem, no problem. And also for those of you that are using tax season potentially as a crutch, right? I won't say excuse because it's a legitimate reason. I ran my own firm. Don't get me wrong. I know it's legit. But if you want to experience the same tax season you experienced last year, keep doing the same thing. Keep pulling your hair out. Keep dealing with problem clients. Keep taking price shoppers. If you want to change how your tax season operates and ultimately the best time of year to be acquiring clients, because that's when everyone's paying attention, I would say you've got a fantastic opportunity. And the final thing is there will be a major price increase to the Create Your Dream Firm program after tax season. And let's just say I had someone refer to it as cheap. Someone referred to it, not the experience. Like, oh, that's it. I was like, really? I was like, oh my goodness, I gotta change things up a little bit here. So anyway, and there's also, we've added new things. There's super cool things going on. It's totally different from when the original price was originally announced. And so anyway, cool. Just letting you guys know about that. Kenneth booked a call for Tuesday. Way to be someone who takes action. Kenneth, excited for 2021. So am I. Patrick, my wife works with me. Can she go through the program with me? Patrick, fantastic question. Absolutely. There's no added investment to join. If there's two, I like to say they should be managing partners or directly at the ownership level. But yes, we'd love for that to be the case. Make an informed decision with your wife when you join. And ultimately would love to have her and any other individuals who might have partners or management participate in that as well. No added investment required for that. And Roy says, cool, thanks. We'll book a call. So I think I've taken care of just about all the questions, just double checking Zoom, and that's all taken care of as well. Tim, any final parting shots here, my friend? Anything at all that you'd like to share before we bid ourselves adieu here?
Yeah, you started talking about tax season, and right, it is a heavy, heavy burden for sure. But I'll tell you, I've never been so excited for tax season in my life, ever. Because once again, right, I've got better systems, better processes, and I realize now is the time to really serve my potential clients, to bring them in the door and help them more than I've ever helped them before. And so thank you, Tyler, for just your investment in me, right? It's a two-way street. It's a great partnership. And I hope all of you join, right? As great as Tyler is, I love everyone else in the group too. And I learn just as much from them as I do from him. And so it is a great group. It's a great community. And I would love to see you all there so that you can build your dream firms.
Really appreciate that, Tim, and absolutely true on a number of fronts there. It's a community of like-minded individuals all on the same mission. Your dream firm may be different, but the way we go about building it, we're going to have a lot of similarities. We're going to have a lot of similar problems too. And we're ultimately going to be able to solve those problems in a collective environment to get to ultimately better solutions. So I want to say thank you so much to Tim for being willing to share his expertise. We have another call coming up in a little bit here for some strategic high-level planning for our clients. I'm very excited to be able to do that. And yeah, look, bottom line here, guys, if you feel you're stuck inside of your firm right now, you build a business to free you instead of trap you. Your dream firm is closer than you think. It's not only just about marketing, it's about extracting you from doing too much of the work. So you can go focus on higher level activities and ultimately go from doer to director of your firm. And I would love nothing more than to help that transition take place at record speed. So with that being said, thank you so much. Everyone have a fantastic new year. Remember, only you can create your dream firm, but I, as well as all of our dream firm participants, such as Tim, we are here to help you every single step of the way. Be sure to book your call and learn exactly about how the Create Your Dream Firm program can do just that. Create your dream firm. Talk to you soon. And again, thank you so much, Tim.